it takes 30 years to become an overnight success, right? 30 years is crazy to say because it was just yesterday I was a freshman. You were a senior. We were leaving Frankfort High School, and now here we are.
That was 1992. So.
Bunch of old people
That's
sitting around.
30-something years old.
30-something years, yeah. So let's talk about the culinary journey, Tucker. Where'd that start?
Well, growing up in Frankfort, I think we all have these grandmothers that would be cooking in the kitchen and, rolling the meatballs at a young age or grinding the figs for the cuccidads and stuff like that. So I think, probably that's where, the spark started. The seed was planted with that.
Take us through your journey with the different establishments that you've built.
My dad started baking cheesecakes. I think it was right around 1992 in the house, and he ended up opening a place in Frankfurt. What was it? Sportabout was next door.
Oh, yeah,
you guys
yeah.
remember that store?
Yep.
John Wallace's Sportabout. And then he opened up the place next door, and he started Allocation Cheesecakes. After a few years of me calming down, I decided to, this might be something that I can help the family make some money and put some money in my pocket. And I started doing the cheesecakes with my dad. But it wasn't until we got to Ilion. Do you remember where?
Faze Mall.
It was Faze Mall.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was Eckerd's at the time, and all the stores in there. I try to remember the stores. I think
Gills
was still operational
Gills
when we
Smoke
first
Shop.
started there. Then Gills went out, and we went into Gills' place. But SBJ Fudge,
SBJ, the auto
Camelot.
parts.
What was the music place that was in there? Don't you remember?
Radio Shack,
Oh, there you go. Okay.
and there was a florist in there. Do you guys know how to pronounce it? Do you remember the
Was
florist?
it Shesh or
Sesh.
Yeah.
But their name was not Sasha, it was Krasky. So it was always,
Oh my
a friend of mine used to always try and pronounce the name of that place. It was so hard. But yeah, we started off, that was he started in Frankfurt, then he went to Ilion, and that's where I started over there. And we, so dessert is a secondary item. Like when the economy's hard, people aren't buying desserts first. They're saving their money. So I decided to come up with like a couple sandwiches in there. And one of the first sandwiches I actually did in there was a roast beef sandwich modeled after Neba. You guys are probably a little young to remember Neba in Utica. The last remaining one ended up being in Albany, New York, and it was called Neba. Actually, Brian's roast beef was at Neba. He was partners with Mark Nicastro in there. So there's a whole history behind, where we're going to end up being in Beef and Bird with this roast beef idea, but it actually started by having a Neba. And this Neba sandwich was just next level. And the truth of the matter is that there's one remaining one. It's not called Neba, but it's out in Glens Falls, out by Lake George. It's called Mike's Best or something like that. And you can go out there and get like basically the original roast beef Neba sandwich. It's on a seeded roll. They put a little, roast beef juice, au jus on there on the sandwich, and it's really good. They serve it with tater tots. So this was like the first step, aside from the cheesecakes, into serving food.
So that led to Tucker's Italian Kitchen.
Kinda.
Okay.
Kinda. So after I was working at Allocation Cheesecakes, I decided to go down to Miami, and I actually went down there. This was my first venture on my own, and it was a failed venture. It was called South Florida Baking Company. And I was with my friend Sal Popuri. He said, come on down. We could do this. I knew how to bake cheesecakes at the time, went down there, and it was just one thing after another between... we had to hire an architect. So I'm from New York here, Frankfort, the Valley. You go in a place, you rent it, you call the health department, you come and you open it. Down there, it's like you need an architect. You need to get zoned. So, the landlords had their own architect, and they said, we'll have your architectural drawing by the end of the week. 6 months later after paying rent.
No way.
So all the funds
crazy.
went out the window. We had bought all the equipment. Nothing worked. I got in a motorcycle accident. Our car got stolen because we started baking cheesecakes out of the house down there. And nothing happened. So I said, you know what? That's it. I'm going back to New York. I went back to work for my dad a little bit. And that's when I decided to open a pizzeria in Herkimer where the old Vinny's was, called Tucker's Italian Kitchen.
I joke that I'm psychologically unemployable. I don't think I could work for somebody else. I sense that about you. When did you know that?
Well, I've disciplined myself over the years or so. I just recently, when I left Slice, I went and helped out my friend AJ over in the North Utica Shopping Center, North End Tap. Right.
Okay.
So I've come a long ways since the beginning years. But yeah, this alpha personality or whatever it is that I just had this calling to be like, I have ideas. I have to follow my ideas. I worked as a plumber. I worked for George Zipko doing some things, but it was always like this calling of, doing my own thing. So yeah, for sure.
Let's move to Slice.
Okay.
I know that you, Tucker's Pizza Kitchen, then you had the Purple Cow, Karma, and then Slice, which is still established, and your brother's now running.
It is still operational, and my brother is the sole owner of Slice.
Nice.
I think it was around 2018 or 2018. My brother took over, and he became the full guy over there, and he's still running that in a successful way. A lot of the main ideas are still there. Purple cow wings, the foot-long slices. And he's taken it to another step where he's really taken merchandising and marketing and all of those things to a whole other level. My brother is a genius when it comes to marketing and running. When the pandemic hit, he took full right into, like using DoorDash, Grubhub, the Slice app, and a large majority of his business is done online there.
Nice.
So now 1886 Prime.
1886 Prime opened. It's going to be 2 years ago in March. 2 years already. Yeah. So it's like, if you have little kids, how fast they grow. And the same thing with this restaurant. And right now it's almost like we're having a renaissance there with, this whole idea of going seed oil free and using beef tallow.
That's what I wanted to get into next.
And so it's really, it's hard, it's wintertime in Frankfort. So people from Utica, people from Herkimer, people from outside, even farther from Utica, it's hard to get them to drive to Frankfort in this weather, in this cold, much less you got to have something that nobody else has. They have to drive by Slice. They have to drive by Oscanizos. They have to drive by all these other places to get to our place in Frankfort. And, you got to really do something extra special to get that to happen.
And you are doing something extra special.
I think so.
I think so too.
As far as, bringing something that's healthy, switching from seed oils, because I noticed it in my own self. I would go out to eat. I would order a steak. I could only eat half of it. And I think part of it was due from the inflammation in my stomach.
Bloating.
Because of my diet.
Right.
I love potato chips. So every meal at the end of the night, I'm eating, potato chips at the end of the night, which are fried in these seed oils.
Yep.
So by eliminating the potato chips, I've noticed that my inflammation has gone down, and I've taken all kinds of different steps in my own diet and in my own life to avoid, because you see the reels on Instagram, you see, I'm not on TikTok anymore, but all of those things, they're talking to us about this stuff. And it's people that really don't, it's like, how are they benefiting from this, just sharing this information, as opposed to like maybe Big Pharma saying, oh yeah, drown your food in canola oil or vegetable, Crisco. Original Crisco was made with either lard or beef tallow.
Yep.
Right? So now everything, I think it was around the 70s when they started to switch to these seed oils. I mean, you guys know about margarine, the original story of margarine, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's
designed to fatten up turkeys.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So even canola oil comes from the rapeseed plant. Right? What a terrible plant. That should have been but they take that and there's these high heat processes to get it using hexane and all of these different chemicals.
Exactly.
And so they can still call it organic, even by doing the process. It's like baby carrots, right? You could go in the store and buy baby carrots, but they're still soaked
in that
and chlorine,
that acid like mixture to make them so that they don't turn.
You see them turn white after in the fridge for a while, so they don't, even though it's organic, that they still have this residue or whatever on there. So even getting organic canola oil, which you're not going to find anywhere,
it's ridiculous.
These seed oils, they have the potential for basically not even the smoke point, it's the peroxidation index.
Yep.
What the peroxidation index is when these oils start to oxidize, become rancid, and that's when the inflammation comes in, causing free radicals.
So I love that we can still enjoy the food that we love to enjoy, like not salads and vegetables all the time, because like realistically, like, come on, we want to eat food that's delicious and indulge every once in a while, but you can do it in a more healthy way. And the fact that you're bringing that to light is huge. It's huge.
not just frying in beef tallow, right? Because you could fry your stuff in beef tallow. Let's take chicken wings, for instance. So everybody, every single place in the valley, anywhere around, is using liquid margarine to mix with their, whether it's Frank's Red Hot or Texas Pete, they're mixing the liquid margarine with it to make their sauce. And this is something that we've always done. Nobody's ever thought outside the box. You could use butter, but now your chicken wings are going to, you're already paying $15 for 10 wings. It's going to go to $20. You can't use just straight, but you could, but you could just put a little bit of sauce in there, and then people are going to say they want extra sauce. You're going to have to charge them, it's almost
$5 for a cup of extra sauce.
Half a pound of butter for 20 wings. Crazy. So I came up with this formula. It's like, what's the point in frying in beef tallow if I'm just going to toss them in liquid margarine?
Yes.
So I had to go to the drawing board, and I was like, okay, I got beef tallow in, I got coconut oil in, I got butter in, clarified butter. What kind of concoction can I come up with where it's still going to taste good and it's going to not have to use liquid margarine? And I cracked the code on that one.
Why is this so important to you?
My daughter eats there. Yeah. My daughter, and she loves fried foods. It was rice. I took rice balls off the menu because my kid was eating them every day, and I know how, she was eating them every day out of the fryer, and I know it's like in my conscience. They were
really good.
They're really good, and we may bring them back. It's just like, okay, when I lost one of my employees that used to make the rice balls, that was going to be another job that I had to take on in there, and I was like, you know what? I really have a conscience about what kind of food I'm putting out. Before, it was like I wasn't aware. So when you're not aware, that's fine. But once you become aware of something, when you know something is, hey, I'm doing something and maybe this isn't for the good of humanity, because, okay, we're here, we got to pay our bills, we got to make money. But the realistic thing is, for me, is that I'm trying to clear this karma up, from this life and my past lives and everything. And I'm trying, we go down that road too, right?
That's a whole nother interview.
That's a whole other flip side. But I want to put something out there that's going to be healthier for people. And maybe it's harm reduction because, okay, obviously eating something out of the fryer every day, probably not the best thing for you. But if you can do moderation, this isn't going to harm you.
You started with Purple Cow, which admittedly I didn't know what Purple Cow was. Right. So when you first started Purple Cow, I had to look it up. Seth Godin, marketing guru, right? In a field of black and white and brown cows, you want to be purple. You got to stand out.
That's it.
Right? And in the pizza and wing business, especially around here, how do you stand
dozen,
out?
Right, yeah.
You've always been this way, where you're a Purple Cow in many ways, and what you just went through, or what you're going through, is another example of that. Talk about two things: the leadership courage, because this is probably not as profitable to do it this way, right? To make that decision. And then is this you trying to be a Purple Cow and standing out, or are you trying to change the industry?
Seth Godin, when I opened up Tucker's Italian Kitchen, my friend Alan Cancelino said, you need a Purple Cow. He didn't say what a Purple Cow was or marketing philosophy. So I just got a sticker and I put it on my opening banner, and I never knew why. I trusted this man enough. He had Frankenbergie's in Herkimer. You guys remember that place? Anyways, so I had it. Then when I decided I wanted to leave Herkimer and come back to Frankfort to serve my people, right? So we're in Frankfort. We want to serve Frankfort people. Herkimer is starting to get a little rough on Main Street. I come back. So we're going to name it the Purple Cow. It wasn't until a customer came in with the book, and then the light bulb went off. As far as what's going on now, and I honestly attribute this to, being clear. I don't drink anymore. I don't use cannabis. I don't use anything. I'm just straightforward. And I honestly feel like I'm getting channeled information of what to do on each step of the way. I don't know how Beef and Bird's going to open. I don't know how I'm going to accomplish all of these things. But my faith at this point, my faith in this universal consciousness, some people say God or whatever it is, that this is what's guiding me in the whole thing. And it's what's been guiding me mainly for the last 8 years when I decided to make a change in my life and start doing things that are in alignment with being a good person, being a good person, being a good dad, being a good boss. Hey, I'm seriously flawed, dude. I'm seriously flawed. I will scream in the kitchen. I will, I got 2 guys working for me. I said, we got Dumb and Dumber on the Friday. hard. At the end of the day, I love these guys, you know, and I would take the shirt off my back for them. But at the same time, I'm still flawed in there, you know, because it's like if you ever watch, I don't put myself on the level of Gordon Ramsay, but I make him look like the Pillsbury Doughboy in the
Because you're
kitchen.
passionate about the product you're putting out there.
I got to make sure that this food's going out, that they're following the protocols, and that they're doing it as far as I see it the right way. So that's the guiding force. Where I'm working at in life right now is to trying to be compassionate, trying to be empathetic, to be more calm in the kitchen. Because that's, you know, at the end of the day, I spend more time with these guys in the kitchen than I do with my own family. So, but as far as any of that, the vision that I have is to just keep going with it, you know, to keep taking this divine inspiration and putting it into practice. Because, yes, you mentioned it's not as profitable initially. You know, okay, so I'm switching to beef tallow. It's costing me 2 to 3 times as much. But now I'm selling, 200 pounds of potatoes in 3 days in French fries. We sold, like I didn't even think anybody would ever want to buy a bucket of French fries. Yesterday we probably sold.
Have you met my son?
20 buckets of French fries. and now they're French fries fried in beef tallow. The oil's fresh. We always use the freshest oil for the fries. It's like untouched. There's no chicken in there because once the French fry oil gets a little use on it, then we move it to our chicken wings, you know, because you don't want a clean, crisp oil for chicken wings because it's not going to get any color. They're going to look light and people are going to say these aren't cooked, right?
Yeah.
So you need a little use on the oil.
Yep.
But as far as the French fries go, now, I mean, there's health benefits of beef tallow. You know, we can go through it. It's a laundry list. Now you're getting these vitamins. You know, it helps with your hormones. It's got vitamin A, all these different vitamins in there. I should have took notes on what beef tallow was.
Jay can link it up.
But it's there. You know what I mean? So now we're taking something, you know, like if you're going to talk about, I follow this Carnivore MD on Instagram. You ever guys follow him at all? So basically what it is, the level of carcinogens in an order of McDonald's French fries is equal to a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah. But it's, we don't even think twice about going through the drive-thru. You know what? It's late at night. Let's just go through McDonald's. But no, this is an alternative to where it's like, and every time I walk in a dining room and I see somebody that gets French fries, I say, if these aren't the best you ever had, they're free. I gave away free pizza yesterday just to get people to come in. It's a Sunday. It's kind of slow in Frankfort. Come on down, try our pizza margarita and get some reverse osmosis water. We have, that's the other thing we're doing in there. So we have reverse osmosis water, which eliminates any fluoride, any chlorine, any harsh chemicals in it. So you're getting a crisp glass of water. I go to restaurants and I'll get water. If they don't have bottled water, get water. You can smell the chlorine in it. Can you smell it? If you're
certain restaurants, even the sulfur that are located in different places, you're like, this. I don't want to drink this.
Out towards Little Falls, you're getting the sulfur.
That's what I'm saying. There's one place I can think of that I never get water at. Well, let's talk one more thing before we get on to the new place, Beef and Bird. The difference between your pizza and an Old Skeneets pizza. I prefer yours. I'm sorry. I do. It's my favorite. It is my favorite.
I didn't know we were going there. She's a wild
Upside-down
card.
pizza because it's light. It's not heavy. Like, Tucker, I can eat 3 slices of your pizza.
Get it out right now. Let's see how many.
And I'm telling you,
it
is early in the morning. I don't know if I could do it now, but it's light. It doesn't make me feel so heavy after I eat it.
This is another thing that I can thank the pandemic for because I was just making my own dough breads during the whole pandemic at home.
So unique.
Our dough is aged. A lot of places, maybe in the beginning they started off doing it the old-fashioned way, but now they can make the dough, throw it in, put some dough conditioners, throw it in a proofer, and it's ready in 45 minutes. We're doing it the old-fashioned way, literally, where we make the dough, it sits out, and it's a slow process in the walk-in where it's aging in there. So all of our dough is a minimum 48 hours to 72 to even longer for some of these. So what happens is now the enzymes in that dough starts eating maybe the gluten down. We need a little more gluten for the hand-tossed pizza to stretch it. But when it gets to the point where if it's not used for hand-tossed pizza, now it's going into either the old-fashioned pizza, the old-fashions rise up. If we're not using them, then they go to the house pizza. So the house pizza is what you're comparing to with our Utica-style pizza, our Bleecker Street special that we sell.
So good.
And listen, I give props to Old Skeneets. They're the oldest ones.
OG.
And so I give props to them all the time. I order their food. My brother and I still go down there and eat. We love them. But at the same time, I do it a certain way. And by, you know, letting the dough rise, letting these shells rise overnight. That's the difference is like, say I run out of shells, I could put some in a shell, put them on top of the oven, have them proof up. They're not the same.
Yeah.
And I can't, so I would rather tell people we're out for the day. We're out for the day because I could rise them up in a few hours, but it's a different consistency. It's just not the same. And so this is what, even at 1886 Prime, we had Slice, Open Slice in 2013, was there for so long. I already had almost 20 years in. Yeah. It wasn't until these last couple years where, and I think I attribute this to being clear. You know what I mean? That there's, I'm not walking in there hungover. I didn't smoke a joint before I walked in there, like years before, But honestly, it's like I attribute this to being clear, and I attribute it to, just this divine inspiration that's guiding me the whole way.
We've been doing these for over a year now. I don't know if we've ever had this much energy, passion, pride,
or even knowledge in a product.
You're like a freaking scientist, right?
There is a science to it, man. There is a science to it.
And just the pride of product is what I'll commend you on. And I've seen this firsthand where if a mistake happens, you'll own it publicly. You rather not send something out.
And the public likes that, too.
Of course they do.
They do like that.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's what I want to talk about is your social media. I didn't know if it was you running it or someone else, but it's clear to anyone who's still listening, you wear your heart on your sleeve. You're a very prideful man, and you have a great business. You throw that on social, right? And you challenge people to say, hey, if this isn't the best pizza, I'll give it to you for free.
I believe it because I believe it.
And last weekend, time of release, this will be last weekend, you offered a free pizza, to get people to try it. So you're always trying new things and throwing it out there. Talk about that when it comes to social media and transparency.
Man, we were around when Facebook was born. So a lot of the people that are on there now in social media, they grew up into this. So, we saw it before. What was social media back then? Passing notes or whatever. Now this thing is growing. And you have to take advantage of it. So it actually happened at Slices where I started, making posts on social media and garnering followers. So right here and now, where it's at is like you have to, if you're not using social media, then you're missing out. And it's potentially free. Figuring out the algorithms as far as, so yesterday's post will be a weekend, but I said to get the free pizza, you got to put an emoji in the comments. Because that causes, now people are commenting, that causes it to be seen. Rather than I could be paying Facebook, hey, pay $50 to have 900 people see that.
Yeah, to boost your,
put an emoji in there and automatically it's getting kicked out of there. That's not something that, anybody showed me. That's something that I had to learn on my own. And I'm definitely not technologically savvy. I'm just not. So I'm kind of, it's like I haven't even touched a laptop in 10 years. Everything's from my iPhone at this point. So, it's just trial and error with all of this stuff.
Let's talk about beef and bird.
Beef and bird.
Let's talk about it. What's the menu going to be like? Anticipated opening date?
Okay. I just got interviewed by the Rome Centennial.
We read it.
Centennial.
Yep.
And they asked me when it's going to be open. And I don't know, something came to me.
I love the comment that you said. I hope you say it again.
When the birds return, the bird will open.
There you go. I like it.
Yeah, that's the plan. Man, Frankie Bianchi, who's my partner in this, when I was closing Karma and I didn't know what I was going to do, he loved the idea of the Purple Cow. But I had always been talking about opening a burger place. I said, let's call it beef. Let's call it beef. Somehow, whatever, I ended up going with Pat Seeley instead of Frankie into Slice, and then the whole beef idea just got forgotten. And I had always wanted to open a burger joint. Now, I know Javon's looking at this saying, oh, what do you mean, Tucker? We're not doing burgers there. I think, there's enough great burgers with Javon, what he's doing there, with Rick's Famous. I like Five Guys. There's enough of that. But what we're going to do at Beef and Bird is this is going to be 100% seed oil free restaurant. And the premise is that, so now I can model my menu around being seed oil free. This is a movement. I mean, it hasn't even happened yet. January 20th is when, maybe we're going to start seeing some laws or regulations as far as what can go in our food and what doesn't. And I've been hesitant to even mention any of that as far as the politics goes, because I don't want people to reject this if they're one side or the other side. But it's really about health. And what we're going to do there is we're going to focus on roast beef sandwiches, roast beef French dips, roast beef au jus. I have a chicken sandwich. And this is how it's like, okay, so if we say 1886 prime is Happy Days, beef and bird is Laverne and Shirley.
Well, and I've got to try your chicken sandwich because I've never had it before because I always get the pizza and the wings. But your chicken sandwich,
this chicken sandwich, I've been working on the seasoning since Tucker's Italian Kitchen in 2004. I'm like, this is missing something. I couldn't figure it out. And then just through different trial and error and hearing this person talk and looking at that recipe is like, okay, let's try this. Let's try this. Boom. You know, it's like all these different things going in there. And then finally it's like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. And so the 1886 chicken bites, the chicken tenders down the 1886 chicken tenders, and the chicken sandwich, these all have this, what we now call the 1886 chicken seasoning, you know, and we're making it in huge batches now because it's become so popular. But I think we have the best chicken sandwich. Number one, there's no MSG, it's fried in beef tail, and so it's going to be the healthiest chicken sandwich commercially, you know.
Yeah.
And Heidelberg, we use Heidelberg rolls for, you know, I make my own bread for everything else. I can't make maybe I could make it, but I can't, you know, like my bread is, the dough that I make, I have different functions for it. But I would have to drastically change my recipe to make it to fit these rolls. And Heidelberg rolls, I think, are just.
We've had them on four ingredients, right?
Boyd does a great job up there. Bernadette Rena, she's managing the place. And I just, you know, they're friends of mine. And I love, you know, I want to stay local too.
Well, we're super excited about this. When we read the article this morning, you know, and I could feel it. You're like, you know, 20 years. And I believe this, right?
No, it is 20 years.
20 years, and now I've got it dialed in with the beef and the bird, right? With the chicken sandwich. And it is unique. Again, we go back to the purple cow. Like, it's just different than anything else
Nobody's
out there.
doing roast beef anymore.
Yeah.
And you know, so I was on the fence about even taking on another venture because I'm so busy with, I like to travel. So it's like, how am I going to fit my travel? How am I going to fit my 2 kids? How am I going to fit 1886? And how am I going to open a new place while going to the gym, while having, I don't know. I don't know.
Figure it out as you
I don't
go,
know how
right?
I'm going to do it. You know, it's like when you guys decide to go on your own,
you do it.
how do you do anything? You know, and it's like I'm inspired. Like Elon Musk has how many companies? You know, all these, even Jay over there. You know, like I look at these people. You guys are inspiration for me because how do you get it done? And I think it's just, you know,
one day at a time.
One day at a time.
Well, in a team of people.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
and that is by far the how you leverage your time. Elon Musk has, you know, I mean, you're going highest level there, but you know, thousands of great people around him,
and finding great people.
Yeah.
It's got to be hard because you need to find people that
and
are passionate.
the employment pool up in Utica, I think is different than being in the Valley. It's hard to get people to drive to the Valley, so I'm trusting, you know, that build it and they will come.
Yeah, and they will. Let's talk about this, then we'll wrap up. We could talk all day to you, man. But I want to talk about the people aspect of this because you're tough, you're high strung, you're a type A, you're a control freak, right? By your own mission. I like the Gordon Ramsay Pillsbury Doughboy, right? So you're putting him to shame. But people love you, man. Like, you know,
I think they either love me or hate me.
Well, that's fair, right?
But
but you are in many ways like the Godfather. We've had many people on that will come on and give props to you as someone who mentored them and inspired them and guided them. Javon being one of them. And so how important is that to you? And then, you know, B, talk about that culture where you can have that high expectations, but also fierce loyalty.
I think that comes with time. I'm going to be 51 this year. And, you know, on the holidays, we watch The Godfather on Christmas, you know. And I asked my kids the other day, I said, why do we watch this? This is about loyalty. This is about family. You know, regardless of whatever they did, it makes no difference how a man makes his money. You know, to me, you know, it's about loyalty and it's about family. And that's what we do in business. When you own your own business, that you bring these people in. Like I said, we're spending more time. You're spending more time probably with your secretary than your wife. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or than your kids or whatever. We're around these people more than we are, and they become family, you know, and we all have our quirks. You know, and one of mine is just being a control freak, you know, but nothing makes me more satisfied when I see somebody doing what I taught them to do and doing it right. That makes like I don't care about the money at the end of the day. It's like are we performing? You know, this is we're in the Super Bowl every day. This is a championship team. That's what I said. I made a post the other day about we're getting rid of the people that aren't up to par. And this is true. Like you got to be able to perform. This isn't, C League. This is the Super Bowl team, and we're actually going into the Super Bowl where people are paying. They're working hard. They're giving us their money. I want to give them their money's worth. I want to give them what they see on Facebook. It's like these are pictures. I'm not just making something and taking a picture of it. Like McDonald's or Applebee's. You go into Denny's, you see the picture. The food comes out, looks like whatever, right? These are actual people's foods that I'm taking pictures of, and they want it that way, and I want to make sure that they get it that way.
Let's wrap it up. Let's
all right, we doing our rapid fire?
Yeah, let's do it. I got like 7 of them, 6 or 7.
I know we got
yeah,
6. Usually we do 5, but we couldn't narrow it
special.
down. So okay, these are quick, hopefully easy questions for you to answer. What's your biggest pet peeve in the kitchen?
Uncleanliness.
Good answer.
Yeah, offshoot there.
Nothing's more important to me than being.
Well, and we talk about social media. We talk about public relations. We saw what Delmonico's went through.
God.
And it's whatever. It is what it is. But you also mentioned McDonald's, and it was just hysterical to me, the hypocrisy of people where they're bashing Delmonico's, and maybe rightfully so, but then they're in line next door at McDonald's. And what the hell does that look like?
Let's put things in perspective. We're eating animals' flesh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, they're eating cockroaches in some part of the. Nobody wants to see that, but let's put things in perspective. And that's a whole other thing. Cleanliness is the most important thing.
Yep.
What's one misconception people have about running a restaurant?
That it's easy. that you open a pizzeria and you're going to be a millionaire. Yeah. This is a marriage.
Well, and just because you're good at making something doesn't mean you're good at running a business.
You can make one dish at home pretty good, but when you got to make 100 of them inside of 3 hours, that's the.
If you could ban one ingredient forever, what would it be?
High fructose corn syrup.
For sure.
High fructose corn syrup.
Everything. It's crazy. What's your favorite local dish that you did not create?
I do like to go to Delmonico's and have a Delmonico there. I think beef is a superfood, and if I like John Wade, I go to Delmonico's. I still support Delmonico's, even though it's not like a creation there. But when I go out to eat, I go to Delmonico's. I get the Delmonico steak. I get a side of vodka penny and their fried mozzarella. That's my go-to meal.
If you weren't in the food industry, what would you be doing?
Okay, well, I've been working on a manuscript. This is where I get it. I've been working on a manuscript for 3 years about my travels through South America. It's about a female mystic who, in 1,000 years from now, comes back with the Christ consciousness, and so an author. So I'm actually working on that, and her name is Adia Veritas.
Nice.
So
I think you should follow your own advice and just jump. Put it
just
out there,
do it.
man.
Just do it. I got 15 chapters
3
right
years
now.
is too long,
15 chapters I got, and I'm just doing some editing with the help of AI.
Yeah.
If we could touch on that at the end, just so we can clear some things up on AI.
Yeah. So what's one thing people would be surprised to learn about you?
That I'm actually really soft inside. That there's this other side of me that cries at Hallmark movies, and I get emotional just talking about it.
Yeah.
So I'm a softie. I'll bite your face if you mess with my family, but I'll give you a kiss on the cheek.
I feel bad afterwards, maybe not. You want to talk about the AI thing?
Yeah,
clear the air
clear
here?
this up. So, for Beef and Bird, it's going to be in downtown Utica. For the post, and I've been using a little bit of AI for the images. I think it's doing a great job for $20 a month. I don't have a better employee than AI. However, I've caught some slack for people saying, "Oh, why aren't you using local artists?" Blah blah blah. And I am. John Vella at Utica Signs and Graphics. He's one of the guys that I've done a lot of my sign work with. He's going to be doing that. Spoke to him about, oh, that's great. It's giving us some great ideas. So. I just want to put it out there. No, I'm not trying to bypass using local artists at all. This is just a tool, as this microphone is, as these cameras are, to help us get to our final thing in a cost-effective way.
And by the way, about 2/3 of everything we see online is not
generated
human
by
generated.
AI.
Right.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
slow down on calling Tucker out on that. Tucker
Thank you.
Rosemyer,
Thank you.
1886.
Thank you guys for having
You know, the beef and the bird. We're excited when the snow melts in like 6 months from now and the birds come back.
Well,
Hopefully sooner than
when the
that.
seeds go in the ground. Yeah.
You are an inspiration, and
Thank you,
you are
guys.
a community leader, and we've been proud supporters and customers of yours for many years, and
We
we'll continue to
appreciate
be. Appreciate
Thank
it,
you very
man.
much.
Thanks, Tucker.
Love you guys.